Hello and welcome to the History of the World. Today we're talking about Chapter 7, the Rise of Islam. So again, the Middle East is kind of a large area, so I've compressed it down to this. So, in 600 AD, let's think about what happened in the Western Roman Empire. It collapsed, yes, excellent. And so all that was left was the Eastern Roman Empire, which was fighting the Zoroastrian Sassanid Persians, Sasanian, Sassanid, I don't really know how to pronounce. So you got the Byzantines are fighting the Sassanids, and they're very evenly matched. And so the wars between them last for centuries and centuries, and it really exhausts the people of the area around it. One such area is Arabia. And so Arabia, there's like trade stuff going on, so they're getting like influences from both. And in one city along there, a man named Muhammad says that he has received visions from the Archangel Gabriel, and he announces the beginning of a new religion, which is Islam. And so it doesn't catch on along the people, or with the people of Mecca when he tries to spread it. So he has this thing called the Hijra, which is his flight to Medina. So he goes to Medina to start there, and then it does catch on in Medina. So now his Medina is Islamic. So he takes the Muslims from Medina, and they go down to Mecca, and they take Mecca, and so now he has secured some land for his new Islamic faith. Something to know about pre-Islamic Arabia is that it was a largely polytheistic place with lots of tribesmen who are Bedouins. Bedouins, it's kind of like a blanket term for desert-dwelling peoples of the Middle East. And then, so chieftains in this Bedouin society are known as sheikhs. So, S-H-E-I-K-H-S, the sheikhs. So, now Muhammad has secured much of Western Arabia, and then he spreads a little bit more before he passes away. And after the end of Muhammad's life, there is a conflict within the Muslim community over who should succeed him as the leader of the Islamic community. And there are two camps that kind of come out of it. Those who want Abu Bakr and those who want a man named Ali. And this disagreement becomes the basis of the split between Sunnis and Shiites. The vast majority of people back Abu Bakr, who becomes the first caliph, caliph meaning like the leader of the Islamic world, and of like the blended religious and political sides of running the Islamic empire. So, Abu Bakr continues the expansion, and then there are a number. So the first four caliphs are known as the rightly guided caliphs, and they are viewed very well in the Islamic world, and they get a lot done very quickly. So, as I said, the Byzantines and the Sasanians have been fighting really hard for quite some time. So the Muslim troops are able to beat the Byzantines back into Anatolia and take over all of the Sassanid Empire, so all of Persia, and then expand into Egypt, taking Alexandria, Cairo. So now they are big enough that we can talk about it on the world map. So with enough time, Islam takes over North Africa, which was previously Roman Christian area, push the Byzantines into Anatolia, and then go out that way. So before we talk a little bit more about the expansion of Islam, let's talk about what Islam is. Islam is a monotheistic religion where God, who in Arabic is Allah, is kind of an omnipotent force, and to worship him properly, there are 5 pillars of the Islamic faith. So the first one is the Shahada. It is a recitation, like something a Muslim would say, there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. So acknowledging kind of what the central tenet of Islam. Then you have the Zakat, which is like a special alms for those with, those with less. You have to acknowledge Ramadan, which is a month. So Islam uses a lunar calendar, and Ramadan is a month on that lunar calendar, which is why to Westerners it seems that it kind of shifts around during the year. But in Ramadan you fast during the day, and then you have a meal, iftar, during the night. Then you are supposed to go on a Hajj, which is like a pilgrimage to Mecca during your lifetime. And so Muslims from all around the world will make this pilgrimage to Mecca, and so that has made Saudi Arabia very unique as like the guardian of the holy site of Islam. And the final thing is praying 5 times a day. And Muslims tend to pray in the direction of Mecca, which in the United States would be eastwards. So, those are the 5 pillars that you should know for AP World. Yeah, so anyway, so that's kind of the gist of Islam. So, like we talked about the division between Abu Bakr and the Sunnis and Ali and the Shiites, Shia Islam only really gains like precedence in Persia and eastern Iraq and some in eastern parts of Saudi Arabia, or of the Arabian Peninsula. And there are pockets in modern-day Lebanon right now, but for the most part, most Muslims are Sunni. Yeah. So for the political side again, we have, it starts with the Umayyad dynasty, or like the Umayyad Caliphate, which is run out of Damascus. And then after the Umayyads comes the Abbasids, who run out of Baghdad. And Baghdad, under the Abbasids, becomes a very prosperous city. You have the House of Wisdom, lots of learning. The Muslim scholars accomplish a great deal of things. They translate a lot of, in taking over part of the Byzantine Empire, they come across a lot of Byzantine, so Roman and Greek knowledge, and they translate that and are able to take that and work and find new things off of it. So like algebra, the word algebra is from the Arabic, like al-jabr or something similar. So yeah, so that's the expansion of Islamic learning and stuff like that under the Umayyads, or the Abbasids, pardon. Then you have out of North Africa kind of breaks off and makes the Fatimids. But to jump back, the Islamic world, as it was expanding, had taken over Spain and was going into France, but was defeated by a Frankish general, Charles Martel. Martel is French for the hammer, Charles the Hammer. And so he defeats the Muslims, and they are limited to Spain. And that begins the indigenous Christians begin the multi-century reconquista to take back Spain. So Islamic Spain again is a very refined cultural place, because they blend like some local knowledge and stuff like that, and they have their own influence, and it's a very interesting place. The Alhambra in southern Spain is a very cool place, so if you have the opportunity, I'd recommend going. Yeah. So, as you can see, when the Islamic world expanded, part of the things, or one of the places it took over was Jerusalem, which is very important in Christianity. So, yeah. So at one point, there were the Seljuk Turks who come in and they push the Arabs out of the Holy Land, so like Jerusalem around there, and they're moving into the Byzantine Empire, especially after the Battle of Manzikert. And so the Byzantines asked the Pope, even though the Byzantine Empire and like the Orthodox Church have schismed from the Catholics, the Byzantines asked the Pope for some help, and the Pope grants it, and so that's the beginning of the Crusades. So now massive armies of like Franks and Italians and Germans are now coming to push the Muslims out of Jerusalem and the Holy Land. And so at first they're successful, and they set up the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Over time, there are wars over this. Richard the Lionheart, Saladin duke it out. And in the end, the Muslims do take back the Holy Land, but in doing so, it exposes the West to some of the cool, Middle Eastern advancements and, spices and stuff like that, which gets them, hooked and ready. And we'll talk about more of that in the colonialism stuff later on. But yeah, so, and around the same time that the Crusades are happening, in north of China, the Mongols take off under Genghis Khan. And so, they take over China, but they also take over Persia and part of the Middle East, and they absolutely raze Baghdad to the ground. They destroy it, and Baghdad never really recovers from that, and that's a big blow to the Muslim world, losing such an important thought center, and it has a very harsh and corrosive effect on, the Islamic world. And after the destruction of Baghdad, power in the Islamic world kind of shifts to the newly arrived Turks. You have the Seljuk Turks at first, and once the Seljuks and other Turkish Ghazis push more into Anatolia, that's the birth of the Ottomans, and the Ottomans will later claim the the caliphate for themselves. So it's a shift of power towards the Turks. Yeah, so that should be about it. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today. We'll catch you next time.